Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Aurora 4X C#. I did manage to go ahead and, test a little bit myself off screen. Our strike fighters, they actually work quite nicely. Which is always great to hear, of course. Let me go and get my timer started. Now, of course, I don't know if we will end up, being able to actually test this part. There's no guarantee that the raiders that I had pop up in when I was just playing for myself for a little bit, if they'll actually pop up this time. They may not. But if they do, we might end up having an opportunity to test out the strike fighters, because I ended up with the issue of I was refitting my ships when the raiders decided to pop up around Earth again. So the only thing I had to be able to send out was the strike fighters. Okay, that is one of the reactors finished. There's really nothing else. Well, actually, this is worth researching. Well, no. Excuse me, that's ECM, not ECCM. No, never mind. I mean, technically, I guess it is still somewhat potentially useful to research, but it's not nearly as big of a deal. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, let's go ahead and start researching better fuel consumption, so we can take advantage of that. That'll be helpful for next time around, because that's basically the last of the major changes I need to make. And I forgot to rename you. Let's go ahead and rename you to the 2141. And rename you as well to the 2141. Okay, so the Albany needs to be retooled. And the Abercrombie needs to be retooled. Those will finish in November and December. Once those finish, we will begin the refits. We got a new commander for the air group, at least on the Akagi. Okay, the Albany is done. Now, you should be able to refit everything, because I think I only have, like, the 4 Albanys anyway. Yeah. Actually... One second. Just to make sure you guys use any of these components that happen to be lying around. I don't know if there are any, but there might be. And if there are, I want you to use them. So those are currently scheduled for May of next year. So that'll be a little while. The other retooling should be finishing in just a moment. There it is. So Abercrombie, refit. If there are any components, please do use them. Those are due for October of next year. Oh boy. That'll be a bit of a wait. And this is exactly why I had to send out the strike fighters. Because all of my stuff that had guns was busy. And to be completely honest, generally speaking, I would prefer not to use missiles if I can avoid it when it comes to fighting the raiders, because they're just not really worth the cost of a missile. Specifically, the cost of a missile swarm. You know, it'd be one thing if I could kill them with like 5 missiles or something, then yeah, sure, okay, that'd be great. I don't think that quite cuts it. Although, admittedly, I think the next time we design a size 8 missile, we're going to potentially end up following a similar approach as to what we did with our size 4s, where we are going to actually put an active sensor on them. The reason being is for the exact same reason why we have the active sensors on the 4s. The idea is that I can fire them at a single target. If that target gets destroyed by an earlier salvo, then those missiles will just redirect onto a new target, so long as there is a new target that they can redirect onto. Okay, we have our first set of raiders. I did have these guys pop up as well last time, so I'm a little surprised that they're popping up this time as well. I do need to adjust to the firing priorities, though, because I forget to do this, and it is annoying that I cannot just, choose a default or something. So there we go. Tell the guys around Lalande to be active, and they're already on active. Okay, wonderful. So they're gonna fly right into our weapons range. And I just had something that came to mind. Just, we're not doing it because there's no real need to do it, but just out of curiosity. I could get 350,000 kilometer range 25 centimeter railguns now if I felt so inclined. Let's see. Our current ones are these, which have a rate of fire of 10 seconds, which is the best we can get anyway, so that's fine. And what is our maximum fire control range? 400,000 kilometers. Now, okay. So, in theory, if I felt so inclined, we could do this for a future STO. That we don't need to update our STOs. This is more than sufficient for our current needs. If the Raiders or an NPR comes around and is better equipped or sends more stuff at us, then sure, we might be inclined to say we need new, better STOs. But for right now, it's not really needed. Our current ones don't have any real issues dealing with the one Tekka that they send periodically for most of our places. What was that? I just had another thing pop up. Oh, this one's in Seoul. Okay. Yep, had these guys pop up too. So we have one set of... Okay, we cannot find the dudes in Seoul, however. They have disappeared. What I am going to do is tell Carrier Strike Group 1 to toss on its active so that we have those. They're not super useful right now, admittedly. And we'll see if we can manage to redetect the guys around, or not around, but the guys in Seoul. Wonderful. You guys also disabled its weapon, or well, its engines rather, so it's not able to continue moving. Now, I don't know where the guys in Seoul were because I didn't notice until after I'd already clicked to go to another turn, so I guess we'll see if they come up again. But I kind of get the feeling the answer is going to be no. Actually, speaking of you, let's make sure that these guys are properly set up weapons-wise. Same with these guys as well. Wonderful. Double check that everybody is correctly set up and you guys aren't. That could be annoying, so let's get that fixed. Okay, let's go ahead and 5-day ticks. Okay, guys around Seoul have been found again. They are up there. Now, are you guys gonna disappear again, or are you gonna stay this time? Also, about where are you actually heading anyway? Okay, you are in fact heading in. Wonderful. Okay, Carrier Strike Group 1. Time to show these guys off. Launch them, actives on. Contacts, go here, follow. I'm gonna set you guys for now. What is your guys' actives? 11. That's definitely not right. Who has their actives on around Earth? Your guys' actives are 3.5. So I'm going to tell you to close to 2 for now. Yeah, I mean, they're pretty far out there. We could let them get closer if we felt so inclined. But there's not much of a need to wait for them to get closer. Aha. It was Quick Reaction Force 2 that had their actives on. That was screwing with us. We can continue to do 1 hour ticks for now. Okay. Not going to do another 1 hour one, even though we could in that scenario. Running away because they pick you guys up. Should pick up the rest of the fleet. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so I want you guys to fire on the Tekka first, because that is always the go-to. Now we have to close the distance further to, we will just say, 800,000 kilometers. You know, we can close significantly closer. Let's go with 700. button. Still trying to close. Technically, we still have a little bit more we need to do to actually close the distance. There we go. That should be close enough. Okay, make sure that this is assigned to everybody, and it is. And lead open fire. Everybody launches their missiles. We have ludicrously high estimated chances to hit. And there goes the Tekka. Another one managed to fire off a salvo a little bit later than the others, so it's going to be a bit delayed, which is fine. That one manages to impact the Charug, in this case, actually. That's fine. Now, because these are box launchers, we do need to send you guys back home, although it looks like some of you guys still actually have targets, or, ammo. Why do some of you still have ammo? Who is it that still has ammo? 1 and 3 have ammo still, apparently. There we go. Apparently their weapons were not ready yet. There's the Yaik. Now you guys can fly back home because you have no more ammo. So, remove orders, fleets, airstrike group 1. Land assigned mothership / squadron. I don't know why the Charug seems to be still trying to come after us, although now we've lost sight of it entirely. Which is interesting, because we've generally never had issues detecting the Charug, just using the thermals, but apparently we're not detecting it now. And I'm not sure why. Okay, now I need to give those guys time because they need to actually re-equip. Or rather, reload their box launchers, which are going to take about 5,000 seconds. Okay, there we go. Double check that they're all loaded up, and they are. Technically, they are still in the yellow for exceeding their deployment time, and we don't currently have eyes on the Charug, so we're not going to immediately send them back out again. If the Charug decides to pop up again, we will take care of it then. Holy shite. Okay. Well, this is a terrible time for the fleet to be in refit. This did not happen during my test, but they are apparently now sending out an absolute metric ton of drills. These are the ones that have 150,000 kilometer railguns with a slow rate of fire. 7 of these, apparently, per ship. So that's quite nasty. And they are fairly large at about 14,000 tons. Well, a little over. It's like 14,000 and a quarter. Well, I guess 14 and a quarter thousand tons? I don't know exactly how you would say that. But nonetheless, that's their active sensor signature. So they are fairly large. And we did destroy one, but then we've just never seen them again, basically. And now they're here with a ton of them. So this will be absolutely fun. We could have also sent out VFs alongside the strike fighters, VF1 and VF2 alongside the strike fighters. They could have engaged the Charog immediately after VFA1 dealt with the escorts. That certainly was an option. I completely forgot about it. So that Charog is going to be somewhere out there for basically the rest of eternity as far as we're concerned. But because it's just a troop transport, it's not really a threat on its own. So we can kind of forget about it. It doesn't significantly hamper us. Okay, close to 700,000 kilometers on the Durils. We're going to be using the strike fighters quite a bit, it seems like, this time, because we're still waiting on the refits. Reminder, the cruisers aren't done until May 3rd. And then the destroyers aren't going to be done until, like, the end of October. Now, I don't expect these guys to run away. I mean, they might, but I wouldn't count on it. Okay, we're getting a bit more information on them, and then we lose that information because, I don't know, they slowed down or something. Okay, this is an actual invasion fleet. Oh, god damn it. Okay, so there is an absolute metric ton of shit they're sending at us. Yay, I guess. Okay, this is fun. Let's double check our information here. Who has longer range railguns, the Tekkas or the Durils? Well, as far as we have observed, the Tekkas have more range. The Durils, however, do not. But because they're both damaged 4x4s, they should be the exact same railguns. So they should both have about 160,000 kilometers. That should be the case. Because yes, they should be railgun launch velocity 40,000. We know they have a capacitor recharge rate of like 4. So this is basically what their railguns look like. Slow rate of fire. 4 damage per shot, and they fire 4 shots each with a 160,000 kilometer range. And again, it should be the same for both. I do not necessarily know for certain that that's the case. In this case, we're going to go ahead and, while I would absolutely love to have the fleet fire, well, I suppose I could. It's just a bit more micromanagement on my part that I'm not a big fan of. There's options for sync fire. So when it's active, the selected ship will not fire unless other ships in the same fleet are ready to fire. Well, I don't necessarily want them to do that, but I do want them to... I wish I could, like, tell them to ripple fire or something. You know? Sort of say, go down the list, everybody fires a salvo at the target, but you do it in 5-second increments each. That way, I could have all of these guys fire back to back, and I can have them all fire the same target. And because the missiles have their own active sensors, they'll just move on to a new target if the initial target gets destroyed in the process. But unfortunately, that is not an option. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to tell everybody to go and fire on the Tekka. On Tekka 37. Once we close into weapons range. Which is 940 some odd 1,000 kilometers. Now, did everybody fire their weapons? Just to double check. Yes, you all did. Wonderful. Okay, that is one Tekka dealt with. Obviously, everybody else is still active, and I need to hightail it out of here. So, run away, run away. Need you guys to pull a brave Sir Robin. Now, the enemy may decide to flee once they detect the actual fleet. Now, I say flee, I don't mean necessarily flee in the normal sense of flee. I mean flee in the sense of they're not going to necessarily approach us, per se. They may choose to hang back a little bit. Luckily, they don't have missiles, so that significantly helps us out. Now we wait for these guys to reload their missiles. There we go. Excuse me, 6,000 seconds for this. Eesh. Now what we're gonna have to do... There we go, they're breaking off. Are they going after something civilian? I think they might be. I think they might be going for that freighter. And I don't think that freighter is anywhere near fast enough to be able to get away. No, it's... No, they're going around. Nope, they're coming back in. Okay. Now, the thing is, I only really have the missiles on our... Maybe not. I guess it depends. I may only have the missiles on our... guided missile destroyers. I'm not 100% certain if I will be able to... Okay, we found a Charug. For a second. I thought, right? Yes, we did pick up a Charug. And then we lost it again. Oh, there it is. I couldn't find him in the mess of shit. Let's hide civilians again, because I don't need to see them. Yeah, so this is the thing we're kind of going to be dealing with, is that they're not going to be necessarily approaching us. They're a little too scared to actually come into range. And so long as our ships are refitting, I can't go after them, per se, outside of, launching our strike fighters, which I only have so many of these missiles built because I didn't exactly expect to use them up basically immediately. But it turns out I probably should have expected this. Like I said, it did not occur when I was just playing for myself a little bit more off screen. Oh, yes, because you guys are technically set to fire. The game's not going to let me do more than 5-second increments. So what we're going to do is we're just going to rely on hit and run tactics. We're going to launch the strike fighters. They're going to fire a missile into these guys, destroy a Yayek. We will head back, resupply. This is going to be frickin' World War II carrier operations galore. Particularly in the sense that we're going to be kind of cutting corners in some cases. Wonderful. Go for Tekka 38. Assign to fleet. Open fire. Once you guys have the correct range. Weapons out. Oh, yes, that would be because of the missiles. Never mind. I'm not sure why I'm seeing an active of 1 million resolution 1. Nope. Yeah, I'm an idiot. That's the missiles. I somehow missed that before, though. Scratch one more Tekka. Ceasefire. Well, actually, double check. Did you guys all fire your missiles? You did. Wonderful. Just gotta double check on that, because sometimes it seems like you might not. Okay, so fleets. Carrier Strike Group 1. Carrier Strike Group 1. Land on assigned mothership/squadron. Are you guys gonna come into range this time? Did I piss you off enough? Nope. Okay, figured as much. We're gonna do it the tried and true that we did last time. Where we're gonna, when they've come in as close as they're gonna go, we're gonna do a long increment so that they fly as far out as they can go. That'll give us time to, actually let our stuff go. And 3-hour increments, and bye-bye. At least for a little bit. It gives me time to get the strike fighters back up is the main thing, really. And they're ready to go again. But again, they're running these deployment clocks. These deployment clocks are not going to have a great day. Now, the thing is, I am just going to wait, I think, for them to come closer again before I send them out, just to minimize the amount of wear that we're putting on the system, basically. Now, technically speaking, I could, if I wanted to be, tricky, I could use that same exact trick that we're doing to be able to send them far away to let them come in. Basically, on the turn, on the turn before they would actually come in as close as they can go, I can do a long increment, and it will send them coming in significantly closer. It may not necessarily be into weapons range. That's the main thing, is it may not necessarily get them into weapons range. Which is the main reason why I'm not doing it. But it is an option, technically speaking. So Daril follows 700,000 kilometers. Go. Now, I could just go ahead and break off our guided missile destroyers. I could do that. Double check. Did I give the guided missile destroyers the smaller sensors or no? Well, I say smaller. Did I give them the mid-range sensors? And the answer to that is a resounding no, I didn't. Because why the hell would I? They didn't exist, I think, at the time in which I... No, they would have existed because I gave it to the carriers. And the carriers got refit at the same time. I didn't think to give these guys these at the time. But as it turns out, I probably should have. But part of the reason why I didn't give it to them was because they're supposed to always be with a cruiser. Or with a carrier. And those guys have the mid-range sensors. So the destroyers don't need their own. That's why they only have the resolution ones, but the resolution ones have more than sufficient range to be able to launch their missiles, or at least it should be more than sufficient range to launch their missiles. So, you know what? We are going to do that. We are going to go ahead and break off as well the Abdil, the Acasta, and the Acades. Might have mispronounced the last two, definitely. Have you guys move into... let's say you guys are going to do 2 million. And then we'll judge how close you actually have to be to fire your missiles from there. Because you have significantly longer range missiles. But the main thing is that you do not have the wonderful active sensors that the carrier provides in the form of the Ishiyamas. But technically, you don't need to use your own active sensors because the strike fighters can serve as your eyes and ears to be able to launch the missiles because they don't need to be in the same fleet. They just need to have something with an active sensor lock. And these guys, because they're Resolution 1 sensors, are guaranteed to be able to have a sensor lock. Because the game doesn't actually let you go below 50 tons, to my knowledge. Anything smaller than 50 tons, as far as I know, is treated as if it is 50 tons. That's the whole reason why missiles, which, if we, real quick, just go and check out the missiles in terms of size in tons, you'll notice the size 4s are 10. The buoy, which is a size 4 as well, is a 9.99. For whatever reason, it's not exactly 10. I don't know why. And then the size 8s are a 20 ton. But they'll still get picked up by a Resolution 1 sensor. So there is no real difference between a size 10 and a size 50 object as far as the game is concerned. So yeah, we're going to have our strike fighters serve in a bit of an unconventional role as well for this upcoming launch. They're going to launch their missiles, as they have been. They're just also going to serve as the eyes and ears for the guided missile destroyers of Carrier Strike Group 1. You guys are going to launch your missiles at Tekka 039. Let you guys close the distance as needed to fire. Missiles away. One more Tekka down. Now, can I have you guys at least choose a target right now? I can. Wonderful. You're going to go for tech of 40. How much do you got? You're going to have to close to 700,000 still, even though we have an eCCM4. I don't know what the deal is with this, because my knowledge of the way this is supposed to work is that ECM applies a penalty to the fire control. If I recall correctly from the wiki, it is a 10% per level of ECM. So ECM1 is a 10% penalty, ECM2 is a 20% penalty, etc., etc. eCCM will negate that penalty by 10% per level. You do not magically get extra range, however, just because you have a better eCCM than the enemy has ECM. But if your eCCM is at least of equal level to the enemy's ECM, according to the wiki, the way this is supposed to work is that you do not suffer any firing penalty. And yet, for some reason, our missiles that have a range of 46 million kilometers with a fire control that has a range of 46.4 million kilometers is requiring me to close into 700? Really? Why? I say 700. Why am I needing to close into 940,000 kilometers? My eCCM, as far as I can tell, we literally captured one of their ships before. We pull this back up. Where was it? It was a, God, what do they call it? A destroyer escort, the Yayik. It only has an ECM1, and we have zero reason, based off of what we have detected of their ships in the past, to believe that they have anything better than an ECM1. Observed ECM strength, 10. Observed ECM strength, 10. They have... So unless observed ECM strength is supposed to be, ECM 10, in which case that is obviously not reflected in the ship we captured, because this is a 1 for an ECM strength of 10, thus the 10% penalty. Last time I checked, 942,000 kilometers is not a 10% penalty on 46 million. Last time I checked. My math could be way off for all I know. But last time I checked, that's not how it worked. But yes, for some reason I'm going to have to still fly our guided missile destroyers, even with their fancy schmancy eCCM4, to a range that I am not particularly comfortable flying my ships to. And at this point, I might as well send the strike fighters back home, because they're not providing any eyes and ears. So you guys are going to just head back to the fleet. The DDGs are going to do what they were doing already. Luckily, the enemy, as far as we know, is slow enough that we should be able to do this without any real issues. But yes, technically speaking, game, I should be able to fire these at a significantly longer range than what I am currently capable of firing them at. Okay, those guys look to already be done. What I'm going to tell you... So I did I sign that to fleet? No, I didn't. Wonderful. So I'm going to tell you to do is I'm going to tell you to fire that fire control as soon as you have the opportunity to do so. The missiles have more than sufficient range. They can do 942 on the dot without having any issues and worries about potentially running out of fuel because they don't have the range. Nope, that's not a fear of ours. Actually, double check. Yes, okay, I do have you doing it for a Tekka. Those are the ones I want to destroy first. Technically, that's not strictly true. I should probably want to kill the Dorils first because they're significantly larger vessels. We're still like a couple million kilometers out. 2.5. Was that like 1.9 or something? 2. It looks like 2. We look to be closing at about 500, 1,000 kilometers every 5 minutes. Missiles away. 1 Tekka down. You go for 41. And you go for 42. Fleet open fire. Two more Tekkas down. You guys. Disengage. Come back here. Join as a sub-fleet to Carrier Strike Group 1. And we are still a ways out when it comes to getting our stuff done, but they seem to be a little bit less inclined to fly closer right now. But I think that's just because they were still picking up our guided missile destroyers. But if they're going to keep flying in closer like they are right now, we can... Oh shit, we're out of missiles on the U. Yep, okay. Yep, okay, knew that was going to happen at some point. Earth, load up on ordnance. Of course, I can't do that without telling the carrier to actually detach, because otherwise it can't technically load up on ordnance. Jesus, are you still loading up an ordnance? Or did you finish it? You're still loading up an ordnance, apparently. Wonderful. Going back up here. These guys are loaded up and ready to go. Detach. Launch them again. This time they did manage to get a little bit of rest. So they shouldn't be as bad when it comes to the deployment clock. At least marginally. And I am going to have to build more of those size 4 missiles, clearly. So let's go ahead and queue up. I'm just going to say fuck it and say build me 1,000 of them. And I'm going to need more of the size 8s as well, if you don't mind. So you know what? Build me 1,000 more of those too, because I can use them. As for the research, how's that going? ECCM5 is well on its way. It's always great. What you guys gonna do now, huh? Got more missiles coming your way. It's not like you can do anything to stop me. Ship combat. Go for the tech of... so thing is, I don't know how many missiles we technically need to actually destroy these guys per se. And so obviously I can say that yes, we are definitely wasting missiles. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna manually increment these guys. I'm gonna manually increment them. Both of those to fire. Still going. Jesus Christ, this thing won't die. Yep, and that's why I just fire everything and say, fuck it. Yeah, we didn't destroy any that time. That time we failed to destroy any. Partly because I accidentally did tell one of the guys to choose a different target, and that certainly didn't help. Oops. Go there. You guys actually need to detach, so I can tell you guys to also load up on ordnance at Earth. Also need to tell you guys to cease fire. Make sure you guys are on ceasefire. Okay, strike fighters landed. Okay, you guys are done. Get the game to reload this. Did you guys already finish? You did. Wonderful. Detach. Movement, contacts here, follows 700,000 kilometers. Go. You guys do the same thing. And I realize it's an absolute waste to do it this way, but you didn't destroy it last time, so... Assign fleet, open fire fleet. Make sure it dies this time. Thank you very much. Fly back. Refuel, resupply. In the meantime, the destroyers are going to attempt to get in there. That'll take them a little while. Also doesn't help that they don't seem to be quite, you know, quite the heading I would do to try to intercept. Okay, you're gonna go for Tekka 44, 45, and you're gonna go for Yayik. Open fire fleet. And you may fire when ready. At some point, we'll close the distance needed to fire. We still got a bit of a ways to go. I did tell you guys to fire, right? I did, okay. Just had to double check because I'm like, you guys aren't firing. Kinda seems weird that you're not firing. Oh, because the missiles aren't actually loaded. Yes, that would certainly explain things. Kind of forgot about that part. This is the downside of using box launchers. And the only benefit of using magazines with, magazine-fed launchers. The downside, of course, of that strategy is you have smaller salvos. But, you can load up. So just head back to Earth, refuel, resupply, and we will sort this out next time because my clock is about to go. My timer is about to go off. Also, I need to remember to tell you guys to switch to ceasefire, otherwise you're going to keep trying to shoot. And eventually the game will decide that, hey, they can't shoot. Where are you going to hang out now? Okay. And 3-hour increments, go! Piss off, buddy. Oh god, it's May 6th now for when those finish. 8-hour increments, piss off. Thank you. That'll get them away for a bit longer. And I think the next major tech we're going to be researching is probably even more advancements in shipbuilding. Yes, it's 150,000, but hey, I kind of want it. Cause, yeah, this is a little bit too long for my liking for these refits. Of course, part of it, I think, is because of, just not having the parts necessarily lying around. Even though I've been saying that, the reason why I use standardized parts for our ships is that I can, queue up the construction of the individual components, and that'll speed up construction greatly. And it's true. But I've not done it yet. For the simple reason that I just haven't had a need to do that kind of buildup. And I don't normally have the time to get the parts ready prior to doing a refit. So, yeah, it's just not that practical of an option, per se. But, yeah, we're gonna have to wrap this up next time. Yeah. We still have, what is it? Like, two. Well, I think we dealt with all the Tekkas now. I think it's just the Yayix left. So there's like, yeah, it looks like 3 Yayix. And then, what is that? 6 Durills? Is that right? We have 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. We know we destroyed 1. I think it was 4, right? Yeah, we destroyed 4, and we don't currently have eyes on 3. Last time we had eyes on him was April of 21 something. So he's not there. This guy is somewhere out there. Maybe. Probably not. But yeah, we got nothing for these guys. So yeah, if my math, unless my math is somehow way off, that should be 6 of them. And yeah, that's correct. There are 6 of them. Okay, so max observed speed is 4,551. So again, they seem to be kind of slow, relatively speaking. They really are. So that'll be like I said, something we're gonna have to take care of next time, because the only way I can engage these things is with missiles. Well, that's not strictly true. It's not strictly true. The new railguns, unless I'm completely misremembering, yes, they do outrange these guys because they are 210,000 kilometers, and as far as we know, their max range should be about 160. Unless they've gotten some new tech and it's improved. But as far as we know, it should be about 160. So we do outrange them, but until we can get our destroyers and our guided missile cruisers out there again, I have to use missiles, which are an expensive way to deal with an enemy. Yes, that is our problem. Is that missiles are an expensive way to deal with an enemy, but they are a very, very valuable way to deal with them nonetheless. But I think with a fleet that big that we've just, dealt with now, we may end up wanting to reconsider holding off on getting the Africa out, just because of the larger capacity it would provide. I haven't quite settled on the size of the strike wings. There are a couple of options available to us. We can do what I currently have it set up for, 12 strike fighters and 36 fighters, which seems all right. It is a slight improvement overall compared to what I currently have. Or, if I copy this design, another option is a 24-24 setup. So 24 strike fighters and 24 normal fighters. That would result in the same number of fighters as what the Akagi currently carries, and it would be a significant jump in the strike fighter numbers. Well, I say significant, a relatively significant jump in the strike fighter numbers over the Akagi, because the Akagi only launches 10. So we can add 2 more, or we can a little more than double the strike fighter capability. now that I'm thinking about it, I am kind of leaning more towards the 24-24 setup. But the big thing is going to be the magazine. The Akagi carries 150 of our size 4s. Going with this setup, and I'm just going to go ahead and make the switch over here because I think we're going to do it that way, yep. Delete this one. How many of the size 4s can you carry? 375, so little over double. That is quite a bit more, and that would be helpful. The question is just, do I want to potentially try to hold off on that? And see if I can research this magazine feed system efficiency 96%. The reason for 96% is it would allow me to be able to carry more stuff in the same size. Also, I think, technically speaking, this might be an older one, actually, now that I think about it as well. Because I do recall that during my test, I did actually look into seeing about a new magazine. If I were to design a new magazine that is the same size as this one, yes, that is a 1500 size magazine. The exact same size that I could build right now would kick me up to 1,673. Also, the Africa needs the fancy schmancy new sensors. I forgot about that. Now, I do have a bit more wiggle room. I want the Africa to be about 70,000 tons, so still got about 2,600-ish tons to play with. Some of that, though, I think might go to fuel, but the current engines that are designed for it, I don't think are the ones we're going to end up using. Because I think by the time we get this out, I will end up having this, the fuel capacity research. That's supposed to be December of some year, but we only have about half the labs on it right now, so that'll significantly speed up as other stuff finishes research. But to take advantage of the extra play that I have, I could take us up to a... Let's see. Pull up this again. What would that size be? Okay. That is significantly larger. Holy shit. Actually, wait, no. Is my math correct? Is it 2,600 tons? My math might not be completely correct on that. No, it's about 1,500-ish. And we'll just say it's 1,500 because it makes life so much easier math-wise. So that would be something more akin to this, with a capacity of 2,237. Which is not quite double the capacity, which is understandable. It was never going to be quite double the capacity, realistically. And I think part of the reason why it's 1,500 there is because I did give it extra magazine hit to kill. There's no real reason for this because if my carriers are getting attacked, there's something seriously wrong. So technically they're fine with just this, with a hit to kill of 9 instead of the 15 that it has there. And even if I kept it the same, I would still have a slightly larger capacity. I would prefer for a relatively nice even number, though, I think. So I need to figure out exactly how many missiles I want to carry, and then I can try to finagle this all to get it to work. But I definitely want to have a nice even number to work with because we are talking about size 4 missiles. So an even number is significantly easier to work with. Although, even if they were size 3 missiles, an even number would be easier to work with. Even numbers are always easier to work with is the simplest way to describe it. So yeah, I'll fiddle with that and figure out exactly what works. But yes, also technically I think we should have had an election, but you know what? I'll take care of that next time. Right? Yeah. No. No, election at the end of this year. We'll have an election at the end of 2142. So, next part, we will finish off this, what was clearly an actual serious invasion fleet by the Raiders, because we've not seen something quite that large. Even when they invaded Siceti B1 way back when, they didn't have anything nearly this big. This was specifically to attack Earth. But they're too scared to actually approach Earth, which I can't say I fault them for. Because it would go poorly for them. There is just way too much stuff that we have here around Earth. They would not have a good experience. But yeah, so I'll see you all next time. Quick reminder, if you want to stay up to date with the channel, my go-to place for posting channel updates is on my Discord. You can find a link to that down below in the description. If you want to know if there's any potential interruptions to my schedule and the like, that's the place where you'll find it. Because I generally don't post anywhere else when it comes to giving out channel updates. If you want to support the channel financially for whatever reason, it's appreciated if you decide to do that, but there is no requirement to do that. I do this basically just because I find it to be fun. The channel has brought in a little bit of money a couple of times over the years, but never anything too significant, and certainly not enough to cover the cost of buying games and upgrading my computer hardware. But at the end of the day, that's stuff that I would generally be doing anyway. The big thing is if the channel was getting some sort of financial support, I could do that stuff more often. I could be, when it comes to buying games, certainly taking a bit more risks. Generally, I only buy a game if I figure I'll play it for myself, which is the big thing. If I see a game and I say, oh, that seems interesting, but it's an early access, and early access games don't tend to release very often in my experience. And I'm probably not going to really bother playing it while it's in early access, so I'll hold off on buying it. If the channel was supported financially, I might be inclined to say, you know what? I'm going to take the risk, and I'm going to buy the game. It may not come out, but I can get out at least a couple of videos on it, potentially. Bare minimum. So yeah, if you, for whatever reason, decide you want to support the channel financially at all, the two major ways to do that are going to be either via Patreon if you want to support the channel on a regular monthly basis, or Streamlabs if you want to support the channel with just periodic one-off donations. There are links to those both down in the description as well. But I will see you all next time. Glory to the Republic, and until then.